So the 2024 NBA draft was not too long ago. And it was, I think most people in general were quite right with the draft, as in it was a draft where there's a lot of talent, but not a lot of high-end talent, if you understand what I mean. Like, there's no, like, doesn't look like there's any superstars in here, but there's a lot of good players. And if you guys agree, subscribe. I'm trying to hit 4,000 by the end of the month. If we could hit 3,500, like today is what? Wednesday. If we could hit 3,500 by the end of, by like Friday, that would be absolutely insane. But that's what we're going for. And also, we hit 3,000 yesterday, which is unbelievable. But today, we're doing a way, way too early redraft of the 2024 NBA draft. And this is going to be based, obviously, on what teams need. There's going to be a lot of like hindsight in it, obviously. But one thing I will say is that we will never know really about who's going to be the best until 5 to 6 years into their career. And again, this is just a way, 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 way too early redraft. Like, this is going to age horrendously. I know it is. Because all of these, like, this, it's obviously going to age horrendously. So I'm just going to use, the easiest way to do this is to just go and use the Fanspo. And the first pick in the draft, the Atlanta Hawks still select Zaccharie Risacher. So when it comes to Zaccharie Risacher, he is somebody that I'm quite high on. He is 6'8", 6'9". He's lengthy. Yes, he is one of the least efficient players in the NBA, but he's already a decent defender. He's got length. He's had enough flashes. Like, he's had that 33-point game on good shooting. He's just coming off an 18-point game on 54% shooting. He's averaging, 12 points a game? I'm taking his second for rookies. I get it. His shooting is horrific. He's been terrible from three. He's been bad from the field. But all in all, I think that he's somebody that has an awful lot of potential. I think he's going to be a very, very good player. I think he's going to be an almost star for most of his career. Like, I don't know if he's going to be like a perennial all-star, but I think he's going to be one of those perennial, could make an all-star any given year careers, and will probably make 1 to 2 throughout his career, which is, again, all you can expect from, well, not all you can expect from players in this draft, but like, which I think is still a good thing for someone in this draft, especially for the Hawks. What they needed was, they needed youth. They needed, like, a lot of it, and they need length. They need some young, lengthy players. They have Jalen Johnson. They have Zaccharie Risacher, and they're a team where you're like, they're not in a rebuild, but they're also can't fully go for it. So you've now got like Trae Young, who's still way younger than people realize he is, and you've got now a young core that can build with him. With Dyson Daniels, who's been an incredible pickup, Zaccharie Risacher, Jalen Johnson. You've got DeAndre Hunter, and if you want to, if Risacher's playing well, you can trade Hunter for something. You've got Onyeka Okongwu, so you've now got a really good young core in Atlanta, and I think of all players, the only player I would consider taking other than him would be maybe like a Stephon Castle, but no, I'll still put Risacher at the number 1 pick. With the number 2 pick, and this guy hasn't been good in his NBA career, I still think if you are the Washington Wizards, like, I know they wanted a big, but like, I'm taking Reed Sheppard. I know what we're judging on is Summer League and preseason, which is why, obviously, this is the way too early list. And Reed Sheppard, he's had 12 points in 19 minutes, which was his first like real good showing this season. I still think he's a good defender. I think he's a good creator. I think he shoots the ball really well. I think he's one of those guys that I think people are sleeping on him because he's in a situation where he's not like getting that much burn because the Rockets are really good. And I just think when it comes to Reed Sheppard, if, for example, Sheppard was on a team like the Washington Wizards, I think he would look super. I think he would look absolutely, absolutely super. And yeah, let's have him in there at the 2 slot. With the 3rd pick in the draft, now this is one where I'm like, you got to find someone who would play for the Houston Rockets. And you've got they've got Jalen Green, you've got Dylan Brooks, you've got Freddie VanVleet, you got Tari Eason, Cam Whitmore is there, and it's always for me a tough one with who would come in and play, because obviously Reed Sheppard is not. And one player I think it would play is Stephon Castle. Stephon Castle going up 1 pick from the San Antonio Spurs to the Houston Rockets. I really like Stephon Castle. You can see with his points, like in his last 5, he's at double digits in them all. Bad shooting. Like, he's not a good scorer, but he's already a top tier defender. He's got length. He can play on the ball a bit. He can play off the ball. And you can see he had 10 and 8 assists in his last game. 6, 5, 5, 3, 8. And yeah, obviously quite turnover prone with 7 in his last game. But still, he's somebody that is playing really, really well. Should be in those rookie of the year conversations. Probably isn't going to put up the points to be in those conversations. But I still think being a 10-point a game scorer and a really good defender, and once he can get that, actually he's been shooting the 3-ball pretty well recently enough, but like once he can get the shooting down and scoring a little bit better, I think he's going to be one of the top role players in the entire NBA. So I think for the Houston Rockets, he's someone that's just so good on defense that he has to be involved in the squad. And this is a young athletic team with the likes of Tari Eason that have Jabari Smith, they've got Jalen Green, they've got all these guys, and Amen Thompson as well. I think Stephon Castle could be a really good addition to that team. With the 4th pick, the San Antonio Spurs. So the Spurs, at the time of this draft, obviously you've got CP3 was there, ended up going there. Like Devin Vassell is a very, very solid starter. I'm looking for a bucket. If Stephon Castle was on the board, I would take Stephon Castle. But for me, the San Antonio Spurs, you're taking the bucket. You're taking Jared McCain, the top scorer of all the rookies this season. The hit through his last 5, 27, 23, 34, 29, 20 on 55, 43, 46, 58, 50 shooting splits. Like, he is, again, the Sixers kind of suck. He's been the best player on the Sixers this year, not named Tyrese Maxey. And he's doing it with not a crazy amount of free throws either. He also had 10 assists. I think I had 34 and 10 assists in a game at the 1. Like, this is a guy that maybe is one of those situations where we're overrating him because his team's bad and he's just looking incredible as a rookie. But, like, he's looking so, so nice. I get he was a little bit older for a freshman. He's, like, a year and a bit older than somebody like a Tejan Salone or a, struggling to think, Risacher. But I'm still taking Jared McCain at 4. I think he's that good a scorer that I would take him at 4 if I was the San Antonio Spurs in a redraft. If, obviously, what's his name is not there. If, struggling to think of his name, Stephon Castle. So the Pistons, in real life, took Ron Holland here, and that is not a pick I would make. Like, Asar Thompson is coming back. Cade Cunningham needs shooters around them, and the Pistons are actually looking pretty good. I think they did a decent job in free agency, but with the 5th pick in the NBA draft, or in the NBA redraft, they take... Where is he? They take the expected number 11 player, Dalton Knecht, who ended up going to the Los Angeles Lakers out of Tennessee. Dalton Knecht is just coming off the back of 37 and 27 point outbursts. And if Dalton Knecht was not 23 years old, he's 4 years older than Zaccharie Risacher. If he was not 23 years old, you could probably say Dalton Knecht number 1. But again, he's 23 years old. Dalton Knecht is older than Jalen Johnson. Dalton Knecht is older than LaMelo. He's 4 months older than LaMelo Ball. So it's not like he's this super, super young player, but it's also, he is still a young player. 23 is still pretty young. Either way, Dalton Knecht is a sniper. He's a sniper. He's a bucket getter. The guy scores the ball extremely well. I think that Dalton Knecht is going to be an NBA player for a long, long time, and he's going to be a pretty damn good one for quite a while as well. So, yeah, when it comes to Dalton Knecht, I'm probably higher on him than some people, or lower on him. I think most people would have either Dalton going 1 if you're a Lakers fan, or they would have Dalton dropping a bit just because of his age. I think that's why he dropped in the real thing. But I still think you take best player available. Dalton Knecht would help out the Pistons an awful lot right now. And like worst case scenario, you've got a guy who would be a 15, 20 million a year guy. If he came into the league at 19 and was this level player at 23, you've got him on a rookie deal. Worst case scenario, you've got a guy on a rookie deal till he's 27. So that is a big one for salary anyway. But just for fit, I would take him. And if I'm the Hornets, the Hornets took Tejan Salone they took him as a project. he's a project. He hasn't been great as a rookie, but like again, August 10th, 2005. He's 4 years and 4 months younger than he was 18 when he was drafted. He's 4 years and 4 months younger than Dalton Knecht. He did have an 11-point game against Brooklyn, I guess, but it's Brooklyn. He's not doing much in the NBA, but I do think he is a project player, and there's no point, like, they drafted him as a project player for a reason. I think he showed flashes, like the way the teammates talked about him, supposedly in practice and like in training camp, he looked unbelievable. He's way taller than 6'8". It might take him 2 to 3 years to develop, but again, in 4 years' time, he's still younger than what Dalton Knecht is right now, and I reckon he will develop into being something. So I still think, look, they knew he was going to be a project. They took him as a project, and I don't think they're going to change their mind on a project. So in a redraft, he's still going to go there. The number 7 pick, the Blazers were looking for a big. The Blazers were looking for big. Actually, what am I doing? Undo previous pick. They still would take him as a project. I'm sorry. Alex Sarr, dear Lord. I'm having to edit this video in real time. Alex Sarr would be taken over to John Salone. They wanted a big, like, I don't know, they could have taken Klingon. Screw up. I'll undo it. They're going to still take Salone. 7th pick, they wanted a big. I think they'll take Sarr over Klingon. I think it would be a hindsight bad move, but I think at this point in time, Sarr is still showing enough flashes. I think his feel for the game is off, but he's a really good shot blocker. He is a terrible shooter. One of the least efficient bigs we've ever seen. But like we've seen flashes of like his handle in transition, flashes of the passing, flashes of the unicorn skill set. The problem is that there's the application of the skill set which matters. He does have a unicorn skill set, but I don't know how well he can do with it. The Minnesota Timberwolves had the pick. The Timberwolves had this pick. They traded with the Spurs, and they went for a point guard. I'm going to still go for a point guard, but instead of going for Rob Dillingham, I'm going to go for Bob Carrington. I think Bob Carrington is a player that would help the Timberwolves out more than Rob Dillingham, who's barely playing. Like, he's averaging 10, 4, and 5. He's a do-it-all point guard, coming off an 18-point game. Like, as a shooter, he's not bad, but he can rebound, he can pass. He's a lot taller than Rob Dillingham. He's not going to be as much of a defensive liability as Rob Dillingham. And I think if they were looking for a young point guard, I do think Bob Carrington is what they would go for right now. With the 9th pick, I think the Grizzlies are happy with Zach Edey, so I still think they take Zach Edey. Honestly, he's averaging 11 points. He's starting some games, going to bench in some, like 14, 12, 12, 14, 7 on pretty decent shooting. He's hitting the 3 now. Like, I still think you take Zach Edey at 9. Yeah, no question about that. I think the Grizzlies take him there with the 9th pick. With the 10th pick, the Utah Jazz suck, so let me just go for an upside player who I think would fit the Jazz a bit better than where he went. With the 10th pick, I am going to take Ron Holland. I think Ron Holland is I think he's shown flashes at Detroit. I don't think Detroit's the right place for him. He's had some games where he's looked good. Then he blew the 2 free throws against Milwaukee, which wasn't ideal. Can't shoot a lick. And that's the problem, is he just can't shoot. Either way, though, I still think you probably take a chance at him for that athleticism, for the defense. But I would still have Mr. Ron Holland down here as I think it's fair to put him down here as a 10th pick. I'm near enough the end of the lottery. With the 11th pick, the Bulls, again, I'm just going to say like a best available. Like, I don't hate Matas Buzelis to the Bulls. Hasn't been great. But at this stage, I like Klingon. I don't think he's done too much for the Portland Trail Blazers as far as major minutes. But like, I think when he's played, he's been good. And you see he's starting to get more minutes recently. In a 31-minute game, he had 17 points. He had 8 blocks in that game. Like, he has shown, again, flashes. He's going to be an elite shot blocker. And the thing is that a lot of these teams, like, you could argue Klingon should be higher, but again, it's just flashes. That's the problem, is I think Edey's been a little bit more consistent. And yeah, I'll have Klingon going to the Bulls here at 11. The same time, like, again, Klingon could go higher. He could go lower, but I'll have still without question the lottery. The Oklahoma City Thunder. They knew Topic had torn his ACL, so I'm just gonna give them Topic. Like, they took him knowing he was gonna be out for the season, so I don't think any other player in hindsight would make them change their pick. They're still gonna take Topic 12. At pick 13, the Sacramento Kings. So they took Devin Carter, but they obviously didn't take him knowing he was going to be injured. Hasn't played yet. I would take... This is going to be a crazy one. Yves Missy. He is an athletic center, and I think he'd be a really, really good backup for Dumas. Like, they're running Trey Lyles a bit at center. Like, they're still playing Alex Len. And I think Missy, averaging 7 and 7 nearly, is just a big, athletic... He can block shots. He can run up and down the floor. He's strong. I think he'd be a really, really good backup for Domantas Sabonis if he was playing for the Sacramento Kings. I'm a big fan of him as a player. I think he's been pretty good as a player for the Pelicans. Pretty good. I think he started a lot of games. I think you see again like a 17-point game against the Nets. Yeah, I would take him at 13 and 14. So, the Wizards needed their big. Like, they do need their big. They took, instead of, I gave them, their guard they took was Bob Carrington, and then they took Sarr in the real draft. Bob Carrington is obviously off the board. They took Reed Sheppard in this one. Like, I'm looking for best big available. If you're talking about best player available for the time being, you're looking at Tristan da Silva. There's a lot of players that I was considering having in here. Like, Ryan Dunn is a really interesting player that you could argue could be in the lottery too. And I think if we look at this in a year, there's a good chance Ryan Dunn is there. There are a lot of other guys. Like, what's his name? The guy who went 39. Jalen Wells is a very, very solid player too. You've got, like, obviously Devin Carter. You could argue with him. Potentially being there, Cody Williams, Dillingham, Buzelis. I'm taking a player that I'm still really, really high on. And with the 14, I'm taking Kalel. So Kalel Ware for the Miami Heat, it's like, I just think he's got that upside. Like, he's not playing much for Miami, but like a lot of young rookies, if they're not ready for Miami, aren't going to play. And it's not that big of an issue. For me anyway. Like, we've seen Nikola Jovic struggle to play for years and now starting to come into it. Like, getting a load of burn straight away. I think if you replace Kalel Ware with Alex Sarr, I think Kalel Ware does more. That's my opinion. I think Kalel Ware does more than Alex Sarr if you put the two of them on the floor right now for the Washington Wizards. And again, like, he had 3 blocks in the game against Minnesota. He's been bad, but he hasn't really been given any opportunity to do anything for Miami. And I still think for an upside pick, just based on what we saw in Summer League, based on what we saw in Indiana, I think he could be a really good player. But next couple of picks, I'll just go through them quite quickly. Like, I didn't just, like, off the top of my head, I wasn't thinking Miami will probably take Tristan da Silva, just because I think he would probably do more for them right now. And they don't seem to like to play the young players. 76ers, Rob Dillingham, maybe to try play him in the role of what Jared McCain's doing, especially with what's happened. The LA Lakers with the 17th pick, with all the players available to them, I think they go defense. I know he's been extremely good. Dalton Knecht as a scorer, but I think they go defense. If the Los Angeles Lakers, assuming that his jump shot gets fixed in the same way, LA Lakers select Ryan Dunn at 17. At 18, the Orlando Magic, who have been looking real good with Franz Wagner. Maybe they might, we can never have too many long wings, but I'll still... do you just take Jalen Wells? I don't even know where Jalen Wells is. Not even projected to be drafted. Yeah, screw it. Just take Jalen Wells. Take Jalen Wells at 18. And then, like, 19, the Raptors. I don't know, is Buzelis still on the board? Take Buzelis. I'm just going to very quickly go at the first round. I'm not even thinking about this. The 20th pick, the Cleveland Cavaliers. This is a team in win now mode. Give me... who could be good for the Cleveland Cavaliers? Screw it, just... at this stage, I'm just picking these off the top of my head. Yeah, just take best available talent. Give me Give me Williams or... Nah, you know, give him Terrence Shannon Jr. Why not? The Pelicans... at this stage, I'm just guessing. So we might as well end the video there. See you guys.